life, wisdom.
I'm Dr. Echols. I have my doctorate in chiropractic care, and I've been practicing nutrition for about the last 10 or 15 years. But tonight we're actually here to talk about something new that's new to us and new to our practice, and that's functional medicine. And as we go through this, I'll be talking more about it, but I'm glad that you're here. But I'd like to ask everybody a question here. How many of you here, just by a show of hands, would like to have a little bit better health than you've got right now? Everybody's good. Poncho's can't get any healthier. He's healthy.
I just need to come and see you every week.
That's right. All right, let me ask you another question. How many people here do not want to end up fat, sick, tired, and depressed? Yeah. And I've been there too. You know, we don't want that. So, and you know, I look around and I see what's going on in America today, and I look at these people, and they've got, you know, they're in wheelchairs, or they've got, you know, the oxygen hoses on their nose, or I saw a guy just the other day, he's all bent over like this, and it's like, oh my God, or they've got diabetes, or or they've got thyroid problems, or all these health problems. And you know what I call that? I call it the conveyor belt to the pit of despair. Because those people are despairing. Their hopes for health are gone. They missed the boat. So tonight we're going to talk about a different system that we can be a part of so that we don't end up on that. Because I want to tell you, you know, it wasn't too long ago, even though I was doing things fairly well, I kind of realized that I was on that same conveyor belt, and it kind of shook me up. It was kind of like, oh no, I do not want to end up like that. I've got a lot of reasons not to end up like that. So tonight we're going to talk about some alternatives to that.
The American health.
I love some of the points that they made in there, and they kind of take you pretty fast through them. But is our healthcare system broken? That's what that documentary was about. Is it really healthcare, or is it, as Dr. Wheel, who's that fuzzy looking guy there, he says, is it disease management care? See, that's a big difference there between healthcare and disease management care. That's what we want to do different. We actually want that. I love that what that lady says. Healthcare needs to have more care in it. It really does. They also mentioned that we spend twice as much money as anybody else in the whole planet for healthcare, but yet our statistics are very dismal. He showed us that we were like 50 down on the bottom there. Why do you think that is? Why do you think we're in a healthcare crisis today? This is audience participation night, by the way. You just happen to get lucky. Why do you think we're in a healthcare crisis? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like drugs and surgery. Yeah. Money. Those are some of the things that we're focused on. What about our nutrition? What about the food industry? What about those things? Yeah. All of those things are at fault, right? And poor education. So even though we're spending double, we're spending all the money on what? The two things, drugs and surgery. That's where all the money's going. And what does it do to the health of our nation? Drives it what? Down. So we've got to do something different because that system is broken. Prescription drugs were tripled in the last 5 years. I thought that was very sad and very interesting as well. And when that guy opens up all those medications, can you believe that? Can you imagine how you would feel if you were taking all of those medications? It really surprises me. It shocks me. But you can Google this because there's different statistics on this, but you can Google it and find that now prescription medications are now one of the leading causes of death in the United States today, if not the leading cause, overtaking cancer and heart disease. The average person over 65 years old is on over 15 different medications. So in spite of having all these medications, our health is really going down. So is there a better way? Well, that's what we're going to talk to tonight about. That's what we try to do different. And what we offer is an education for people, a curriculum, if you will, to actually teach people how to be healthier. You notice that the doctor there, she says, man, if I spent 45 minutes with a person trying to teach them how to be healthy and what to do to take care of their problem, they pay me $15. But I can spend 5 minutes putting a stent in your heart, which isn't going to fix your problem. It's just going to kind of keep you stable until you have the next episode, right? And I make $1,500. So there is a better way. So we are in crisis and we are being lied to, and we all know why, don't we? So let me ask you this. Do you think that there's a lot of information out there in our society today about health? Yeah. And how are we getting that information though? That's the tricky part. How do we get that information? Yeah. TV, all that kind of stuff. So let me ask you this. If I was to say, I'm going to say this sentence and you finish it for me. Milk, it does a body good. That's right. It's right. But we've all heard that and a lot of us believed it, right? But did that information come from a health industry or did it come from the milk industry? Yeah, but we all know milk does the body good, right? So it's marketing that we get our information from and we believe it. And oftentimes it's not true at all because it's good marketing. Now, most of y'all are probably younger than I am in here, but they used to say Wonder Bread helps build strong bodies 12 ways. Okay, some of us remember that. That's right. And now we know that maybe that's not quite true, isn't it? So another problem that we've had with the food industry is they started throwing soy at us years ago as a health food, didn't they? And now it's starting to come out that soy is really a terrible food for you because of its estrogenic effects in the body. You know, it can affect men, it can affect women, it can throw our hormone balance all off. But yet it was marketed as a healthy protein, a healthy thing for us to eat. But there was not a lot of research done. And now, with all these other people doing research on it, they're finding out that it blocks hormones, it causes all kinds of hormone imbalances, and it's got what we call phytic acid in soy, which actually is an anti-nutrient. It actually blocks nutrients from getting in our bodies. So you want to be careful about that. There's more that you can look at on Dr. Mercola's site about that. And there's a book called The Whole Soy Story that you can read about. Soy lecithin, if you're a label reader like I do, that's okay because that's the fatty portion of the soy and it's actually not harmful. But we've got a lot of misinformation. And that's one of the things that we have done is we've put together a curriculum so that we can actually teach you the correct, for 18 years, gathering information about how to teach you the correct thing. You know, you remember how a while back it was like, are you supposed to eat eggs? Or are you not supposed to eat eggs? Is bacon good for you? Is it not good for you? So we've kind of got all that figured out so that we can help you make sense of it because all of that information is just chaos if you don't have it into a usable system. 90% of all diseases prevalent today are not treatable with orthodox medical procedures. Wow. I was really shocked when I saw that. It comes from the World Health Organization. What do we mean by that? Well, Brady, if I was to give you, let's say you had an infection, and I was to give you an antibiotic, in 7 to 10 days, more than likely, unless you had one of those super bugs, right? More than likely your infection would be gone. So would that be treated? Yes, right? It would be gone. That would be treated. And that is what the 10% that they're talking about is. That's a treatable disease. But when we start talking about, let's say high cholesterol, all right, I give you a cholesterol medication and in 7 to 10 days, we take you off that medication. What happens to your cholesterol? It goes right back up again because why? We didn't treat the underlying cause. All we did was change a lab value over here and artificially make that go down. See, we didn't actually treat it. We just kind of managed the number on the lab. It says, okay, you're healthy now. Same thing with diabetes. They're not curing diabetes. They're just giving you a drug to artificially lower that blood sugar, right? And manage it. But you're still diabetic because they haven't really got the underlying cause. I've got an autoimmune disorder called Hashimoto's disease. And I've recently discovered this. And what I recently discovered was that I was given some medication just to take care of my thyroid, but not knowing that that really wasn't the problem. It was an autoimmune disorder. So I've been treating the thyroid this whole time and watching my health slowly deteriorate. I'm not very happy about that. Why didn't anybody tell me this? Why didn't anybody tell me, this is an autoimmune disorder. It won't do you any good to treat your thyroid, because that's not what the problem is. You've got to get it under control. You got to get your autoimmune under control, or you're going to get fat, sick, tired, and depressed. And I didn't want to go down that. So I saw myself on that conveyor belt to the pit of despair, which is what I call it. So that's why they say that. America's health habits. We're not being very proactive. This guy being proactive? Not really, right? For the dog. Yeah, he's taking care of him. I think this is a huge problem in America. We procrastinate. I think we've all been guilty of that. And we put our health on the back burner. We don't really take care of it. But I want you to know something. Where you're at right now is from all of the results, all of the decisions that you've made about your health in the past is what we're here now. I'm that way. Everybody's that way. And the decisions that you make today about your health are going to determine how you are in 5 years from now. If you just keep on the same path that you're on now, how are you going to be in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years? So we've got to stop procrastinating. But a lot of times people will say, oh, I'm going to get healthy, but I'm going to wait till after the holidays. Because I got all these parties coming up, January 2nd, I'll be in the gym, right? Or I'm going to get healthy, but I've got school starting and I got to get the kids all, squared away. And it's just so stressful right now. So I'm not going to have time. So we always find excuses, and those days turn into weeks, and those weeks turn into months. And before long, we look at our life and we go, oh my God, what happened? Where did it go? I had all these plans. I had all these dreams that I wanted to get healthy, and it's just not happening. The worst thing that I can hear from a patient is when they come in and they've got cancer, or they have thyroid problems, or they get diabetes, they go, Doc, I waited a little too long, didn't I? I said, well, yeah, you really did, but let's see if we can turn this thing around and get you back on track again. Health insurance. Is it health insurance or is it sick insurance? Has anybody known health insurance to get you healthy? It only pays when you get sick, doesn't it? It doesn't do anything to make you healthy. I could pull out my insurance card and show it to you right now and go, look, this has never done anything to make me healthy. I'm glad I have it because it's great for crisis care, right? But it's not going to do anything to make me healthy. I've got to take responsibility for myself and do that. Health insurance is kind of like life insurance. Life insurance doesn't do anything for you while you're alive. It's only when you're dead does it pay off. And that's the way health insurance is. It doesn't do anything for you until you're what? Until you're sick, right? And I'm so glad that it's here because, if I was to leave here tonight and got, let's say I had a heart attack. I thought I was going to have a heart attack earlier, but no. Let's say I did. Well, they're going to rip my chest open maybe, and they're going to get in there and maybe shock me or massage my heart or do whatever and bring me back to life, hopefully. Yeah. And the crisis care that we have in this country is probably the best anywhere. It's fantastic. If you get hurt like that, you want to have, and please give me some drugs, right? I don't want to experience any of that consciously, right? So that's very important. And I'm not here to bash the medical doctors or any of that stuff because that really has its place. But think about this. So those doctors have saved me. They saved my house from burning down, right? But it's kind of like this. If your house was on fire and the firemen show up and they show up with their axes and their hoses and their water, they're going to tear up your house a little bit, aren't they? But they're going to save your house from burning down. And you'll be grateful for that. But let me ask you this. Are you going to invite those guys back tomorrow to help rebuild your house with the axes and the water hoses? Huh? No, you got to call somebody in who knows about health and how to rebuild it, because that's not what medicine is for. Medicine is for crisis management, disease care. It's not for health care. So I want y'all to really get that, because a lot of people want their insurance to pay for that. And unfortunately, that's not what it's designed to do. Your insurance is designed to pay for this crisis management. And it does, though, with two ways. It does it with drugs and it does it with surgery. How many here think that people get headaches because they just have a lack of Tylenol in their bloodstream? Right? How many people think that they get diabetes because they just don't have any metformin circulating through their body? It doesn't work that way. So we've got to do things differently if we want to be successful. We don't want to just follow that model. We see where it's going. We've just seen that. We got to do things differently. Oh my gosh. Does anybody know who this guy is? Anybody? Jack LaLanne. Oh man, he is awesome. You know, Jack LaLanne, they asked him one time, do you like going to work out? And he goes, no. He goes, I don't, because I have to get out of a warm bed with a hot woman onto a cold gym floor. I don't like it, but I do it. And I do it because I'm being proactive about my health. He was really awesome. Did y'all know that that Jack LaLanne was actually a doctor of chiropractic? Yeah. And boy, he was such a big advocate for health long before it was popular to be. You know? Look at this guy. Isn't that incredible? Wow. I read somewhere that he, on his birthday for years and years, he would take a big rope and stick it in his teeth and swim a boat with 30 people in it across the San Francisco Bay or something. It was like 15 miles or 20, I mean, a long way, pulling a boat with 30 people in it. He did that every day on his birthday for years. And this is what he looked like when he was in his 80s. Who wants to look like that when they're 80? I certainly do. You know, I want to tell you, my goal for myself is to get healthier as I get older. I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger. I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof, man. You can't hurt me. But little did I know that all of those transgressions that I was doing back then all caught up with me. Because what did I tell you earlier? Everything you've done in your past, you're a result of that now. However, we can turn things around, and the choices that we make now will affect how we are in 5 years from now. Thank you, Jack. We appreciate you, man. We all have a why, don't we? Why should we be healthy? So everybody has a different why. This is my main why. This is my lovely wife and my two boys, Max and Ben. Of course, really big parts of my life. And there was a time where I said, you know, I don't want to be sitting in a wheelchair playing with my grandkids, right? And when it comes time to start taking them fishing or going out and hitting the ball or whatever, I want to be there for these guys. And I want to be there for my wife. And I don't want to be a burden to them. I want to be able to take care of them and enjoy them and live life to the fullest. And if I don't change, then I'm going to end up in the pit of despair that we talked about. And that's a hard thing because none of us think that we're going to end up like that. We never think that we will. But all you got to do is just look around and you'll see that you will end up there, you know, unless you do something different. So, you know, this boils down to stress, doesn't it? Different kinds of stress. We've got physical stress, like you've been in a car wreck. A lot of times people, you know, those are kind of unavoidable stresses that we have. Physical stresses that we've had. You know, I used to jump off mountains with paragliders and I stressed my body out, and I did a lot of damage, and I kind of have to live with that. But there are some things that we can do to help with stress. You know, we can watch our ergonomics at our desk. You know, we can put our bodies to bed in the proper way and sleep in the way, not sleep on the sofa, do things like that. Chemical stresses. This is a real big one, isn't it? Guys, do you know that there's like billions of tons of filth that's put up into the air every single year? It's just crazy. And then it falls into our soils and it gets in our foods. And then, of course, then we go ahead and stress ourselves out further with more chemicals that we do. So we have a choice. We don't have a real choice in the environment so much, because that's just the way it is right now, where we've got these chemicals, but we don't have to stress our bodies anymore by adding to that toxic burden, do we? So we have some choices there. And that's one of the things that we teach in our curriculum, is how to avoid these kind of things. Anybody know about emotional stress? Look at that guy. Looks like he's kind of hot under the collar. That poor lady there, she's swamped. Emotional stress. Anybody here married? Quite a few. So y'all know what emotional stress is, right? You know, they say that marriage is like a 3-ring circus. First comes the engagement ring, then comes the wedding ring, and then, of course, the suffering. Actually, I've been happily married for 26 years. I don't think a day goes by that I don't tell my wife that I love her and how much she means to me. And if I keep going anymore, I'll start crying, so I'm not going to. So, the purpose of food. That which is eaten to sustain life, provide energy, and promote growth and repair of tissues. How many people have heard that expression? Do you live to eat, or do you eat to live? Oh, there was lots of times where I thought I was the live to eat guy, you know. But that's the purpose of food. It's to really provide us with energy and to help our bodies repair and to heal. And we've got to make sure that we're getting the proper nutrition. And it's something we will teach you in our curriculum on how to do this properly. Because if you're not eating the correct foods, what do you think is going to happen to you? You're going to get sick, right? Over time, and now you're in the chronic problems. So, is this food? Does this fit the equation? Does this fit the definition of food? Does this nourish our bodies? Does it help it to heal? Does it help it? It helps us to grow, right? Anybody know what an empty calorie is? An empty calorie is a calorie that has no nutritional value at all, but just adds more chemical and toxic stress onto our bodies. This is loaded with preservatives and dyes and colors and all kinds of toxic chemicals. That's really all it is. It's just chemicals. There is no, Sugar, of course. And we know that if they discovered sugar now, today, they would classify it as a drug. It would be classified as a drug. It's white, it's crystalline. You eat it and it changes your mood. Right? It does all kinds of things to us, right? And I have a handout that I give my patients. It's 124 ways sugar ruins your health. 124. And I think it's still going up, right? Sugar is, it's just crazy. It's one of the worst things that we can put into our body. So you've got to be real careful about that. Used to, back at the turn of the century, the average consumption of sugar was like 5 pounds per person per year. Now it's like 500 pounds per person per year. It's just crazy. And what people don't realize is that a lot of the foods that they have, the sugar is hidden in the food, so they don't know it. You see, they don't know that they're getting it. Those sugar smacks that you're feeding your kids, that's like sitting down and eating a bowl of sugar. So we've got to, start thinking about what the purpose of food is. Now, let's talk about hormones, because I can tell you this: if you can eat, you can get on the treadmill and go all day, or you could eat just lettuce and nothing else. And if you don't have your hormones right and in balance, you're not going to lose any weight. That's why some people do really good. They'll exercise and diet and they'll lose weight, and other people won't, because their hormones are just so messed up. And if you look over here On this side of the chart, we've got, see, it says fat burning hormones. It's important to know that fat burning hormones are also anti-aging hormones. So these are very good for our bodies. Now, there's no such thing as a bad hormone, but they do get out of balance. We need them all, don't we? But what happens is people get through the habits that they've gotten into throughout their lives, they go and they get stuck over into the fat storing mode. So if your hormones are out of balance and your body's telling it to store fat, do you think you're going to lose any weight if your hormones are telling you to store fat? No. You won't. You won't lose any at all. And that's where a lot of people fall down. They go, oh, well, I did a diet and I did exercise and I didn't lose any weight. Has anybody ever heard that? That's exactly why. Hormones rule. They are really powerful and they are the masters at this game. So what we do in our clinic is we help to find out, well, why aren't your hormones in balance? And let's see what we can do through testing to figure that out and then get them back into balance. Now, once we do that, things start to really change. As a matter of fact, I had a lady who came to see me, and she was a triathlete. She was training for triathlons. She was rather young, and she was in pretty good shape because this lady exercised 5 to 6 hours a day. Now, when I first heard about this and we were talking about it, it sounded to me like she was training so hard just because she wanted to do well as a triathlete. But then when I started digging a little bit deeper, that wasn't really the reason. The real reason was she had a little bit of fat around her waistline. She didn't like it. So she was dedicated. She was exercising 5 or 6 hours a day in order to get that. And I said, my God, did you know that exercise is actually a stressor on your body? She says, well, no, I guess I didn't think about it that way. I go, did you realize that when you exercise that hard, that your cortisol production shoots up through the roof? Cortisol is a fat storing hormone, and it also causes your body's blood sugar levels to go up. So you're actually sabotaging your efforts by exercising so hard and so long. She goes, you're kidding me. You mean to tell me that if I was to stop exercising, I would lose weight? I go, yes. She goes, well, to tell you the truth, that's the only reason I am exercising this is because I don't want this little pooch around my belly. So we worked with her. We gave her some really good nutrition, some supplements. We educated her. We got her on the correct exercise program. She lost 20 pounds in a very short period of time. And see, exercise was causing her problem. But she had false information. Remember we talked about that? Lacking or wrong information. She had that. So she needed a coach. She needed a mentor to tell her how to do it properly. So which body type are you? This is estrogen body type. We've seen the people, and this is not just for women. Of course, estrogen is the dominant hormone there. It can also, men have estrogen as well. And these are those pear-shaped ladies that we see here. And a lot of times the fat on there is in the surface. It's kind of like that cellulite that starts to kind of dimple up around there. And that's due to an estrogen imbalance in the body. Look at the next one here. This is the adrenal body type. Okay? This is the kind of body type that I would kind of tend to. And that's where you're going to store a lot of fat around the middle section of your body. Again, your adrenal, and this was what her problem was, although she didn't look anywhere near that bad, that her adrenal glands were just being overstimulated. Cortisol was causing her to store the fat. She had the fat storing hormones. Thyroid body types are kind of big all over. And a lot of times you'll see that fat hanging down from their arms right here. That's a thyroid body type. And they need to have special considerations in the way they exercise and in their diet and in their nutrition. This is the liver. This is the liver body type. We call this, a lot of times we call this a beer belly, right? You see this? Beer belly. It's really not a beer belly. It's a liver belly. This guy right here, crunches are not going to take care of that, guys. You cannot spot train that away. You can go do 1 million crunches. That will never go away until you do what? Until you fix the liver. And the liver is very important because the hormones all go through the liver. They're activated in the liver. They're deactivated in the liver. So if the liver is not functioning, do you think your hormones are going to work properly? No or no? Absolutely not. And so then your weight loss efforts are kind of sabotaged. So that's another part of the missing puzzle. Let's talk a little bit about lab tests. The way the current lab tests go in the way we use them now, you know, everybody's here has had a lab test, and you know what we call the normal range, right? Well, it's a flawed system in my opinion, and let me tell you why. When you look at a normal range, do you know how they come up with that normal range? It's what they use a bell curve. You remember bell curves in school, okay? So what they do is they take 95% of the population has to fall within that normal range. Now I want to ask you this. When you look around, do you think that 95% of the population is healthy? Yeah. And yet, if you're in the 90th percentile, that's where they're putting these blood values, okay? So maybe not so good. So we could take this, TSH. TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. It actually comes from the anterior pituitary in the brain, and it sends a chemical down to the thyroid for it to work properly. And the normal values are actually 0.3 to 5.7. That was what's considered the normal range, all right? But this is what we consider the functional range. Functional range is right here, 1.8 to 3.0. Now, when I first found out I had Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune disorder of the thyroid gland, my TSH was 72. A little bit high, right? 72. Pathologically, it's 5 points. Anything over 5.7 is considered pathological. Mine was 77. Okay. There was a day where I couldn't even hardly get off the sofa. Okay. It was pretty bad. So the point is that we don't use these ranges here. We use the functional lab ranges because let's say that you were over here. Let's say that you were at about 5 or 4.5 and you go to your doctor and he goes, what's he going to say? He goes, well, your lab ranges are normal. Everything's looking good. You're like, well, isn't that kind of high? Well, it's kind of on the upper end of high, but it's still considered normal. We'll just watch it and see what happens. You ever heard that?
See you next time.
We'll just see you next time. Well, what are we going to do then? Well, if it's out over that, then we'll figure out some kind of medication that we can take to bring this lab test back into normal ranges. Well, I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait for it to do that. I want to do something about it right now. Well, there's nothing we can do about it now because it's normal. Let me ask you guys a question. What do you think would happen if in our intersections where we drive, there was only red lights and green lights? It'd be chaos, right? It'd be carnage. It would be death. It would be destruction everywhere, right? We'll look around at our system. What's happening? That's what we've got. We need a yellow light. This is a yellow light. This is the yellow light right here. When you come in, we like to test. We find out exactly what's going on with you on every level. We order a lot more tests than you would normally be used to. Normally, when you go into the doctor, he gets one vial of blood and he just checks that one factor right there. And if you're in this normal range, he goes, oh, you're fine. You go, well, how come I feel so crummy? Well, because he didn't do all of the tests that are necessary to find out, well, do you have an autoimmune disorder? He won't know because he didn't do the tests. So that's one of the things that we're going to do different is test you thoroughly to find out exactly where you are. But it's important that we have this yellow light range in here because if you start getting up above 3.0, then we know you're headed for problems. And instead of waiting until you get problems and have to put you on medication for the rest of your life, we need to figure out why that is and get it turned around right away. Is everybody with me? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So we test. We don't like to guess. Testosterone, everybody knows that's the primary male hormone, but females have testosterone too. A very low value would be considered 200 and a very high value would be considered 800. But in our functional lab ranges, 250, and tell me when to stop. How about right there, 650. So where do you want to be on the testosterone scale, Pancho? You don't want to be down here, right? You're not going to do anybody any good down here, right? Too low. So this is why we test. This is why we find out. Another big test that we like to do is for cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. That's what you secrete from the adrenal glands, which are little triangular shaped glands that are right on the top of your kidneys. And this is in response to stress. Now, oftentimes your doctor will do a test and there's a circadian rhythm with cortisol. And oftentimes your doctor will just take one single reading and it'll show it right here. And you see right there on that line, it's right on the line. He'll go, oh, it's perfectly normal. Your cortisol's good. Everything looks great. But what he didn't do was he didn't test it throughout the day. And then what we find out is that this happens right here. Whoops. You see now it's dropping down below the line. So if we would have only tested it at one spot during the day, we would have gotten the mistaken idea that everything was fine. But really it's not. So that's why this testing is so important. I just had my cortisol checked and it wasn't quite that far under the line, but mine was normal here. And then about right here, it started to drop down below the line. And it was still below the line right here, and then it normalized at the end of the day. So what did that tell me was that during the middle of the part of the day, my adrenal glands were getting too stressed. So we've got to figure out what we can do to start nourishing those guys, right? We don't want to necessarily take hormones unless that's absolutely necessary, which oftentimes it's not. But when we start getting the junk out and start putting the good stuff in, we start noticing exercising properly. We notice these things starting to turn around.
I started coming to Dr. Echols because of food allergies and sensitivities. I knew that I had several, and he's been really good about helping me know what supplements would help my digestion and hopefully eventually eliminate some of my food allergies, which we're working on that. We just got to add another food in the last visit, so that's been very exciting. I really feel like he's also just educated me a lot about things that I can do to help my body heal. So he's always available whenever I question by email, very supportive, and he's just really fun. He's a fun guy. So yeah, he's helped me a lot.
That young lady is a school teacher. As a matter of fact, she was just here to see me just a few minutes ago. And she's just come a long, long way under our program. And, taking care of 6-year-olds can be pretty stressful. You agree? Yes. So in our program, we want to take these missing pieces that people have failed to do, and we want to integrate them into a system that we can utilize to help turn things around. Okay? One of the things that people don't do is they don't do a proper detoxification of the body. In the Bible, it says you cannot put new wine in old wineskins or they'll blow up. Well, we have found that you can't take a toxic body and start to put really good food in it, or guess what? It'll blow up too. It won't be able to process that food. So that's where a lot of people fail, is their liver is congested, their bowels are blocked up, they don't working right. Even in between the cells is all congested with gunk. That's all got to be cleaned out of there, so that when we do start putting good food in the body, it can assimilate it and use it. Otherwise, you're going to have problems. I can tell you from experience, if you try to take somebody who's been eating McDonald's and Whataburger all their life, and you start getting them on a good, healthy, organic, they won't be able to digest it. And if you take somebody who's eating really good, healthy, organic food and you give them McDonald's, they won't be able to digest it either. So it kind of works both ways. But that's a missing piece of the program, is the detoxification. So that's one of the first things that I will do with you, is to put you through a very good detox. And a lot of times people, when they think about detox, they think, oh my God, I'm going to be locked in the bathroom for a week. No, it's nothing like that. But we've got to repair that gut. We've got to repair those kidneys and liver, get all that cleaned out so that we can start adding good nutrition back into the program. And nutrition, of course, is very important. You're not going to be eating Oreos when you're on this program, okay? You're going to actually be eating good, healthy, organic food that is designed to rebuild, nourish, and cleanse our bodies, because that's what the definition of food is. And we have classes that we actually give you to teach you how to do that properly, because there's a lot of confusion and chaos that we've talked about out there about that, right? And of course, we're going to teach you how to exercise properly as well. Fitness is important. I probably need more education in this area myself, because every time I try to exercise too hard, I end up doing too much. And it ends up hurting. I end up hurting myself. So we're going to teach you not to do that. I can do that from my own experience, and teach you how to exercise properly. And you know, the neat thing about it is that you won't be locked into the gym for 5 or 6 hours a week. I can teach you to exercise properly 10 to 20 minutes a day, 2 to 3 times a week. And that's all. That's all you need in order to change your metabolism and to change your hormones. That's what's going to be real important. Getting on your treadmill and going for an hour is not going to do it. We've got a specific kind of exercise that we're going to be teaching you that's going to change the way your hormones work. And unfortunately, I've seen the same ladies walking in my neighborhood for years. They don't change. They look just the same. It won't do it. You've got to actually change. You've got to change that. And like I said, that's the big key, is the hormones. So when you start changing the detox, when you do that, now your hormones are actually able to get through the liver and the gut where they're processed and start functioning. You start getting better nutrition in there. So you're actually changing your hormones through that method. And actually the fitness is actually changing your hormones as well. And then the last thing of the missing pieces, I call this the 5 pillars, is your nervous system. Your nervous system consists of your brain and your spinal cord and all of your nerves. How important is that? It controls what? Everything, right? So in my practice, we actually have a computerized program that we'll hook you up to, and it'll actually measure how healthy your nervous system is. And you can actually see on the chart if you're getting better as you go through the program, which is very helpful. We'll actually tell whether your nervous system is functioning properly. So we've got to put all these together. And a lot of times people say, "Oh, I did a detox, and I didn't do very good, or I still didn't lose any weight, or I exercised but I didn't lose weight." Yeah, but did you do all of the pieces? Did you do the detox? Did you have the right nutrition? Did you have the good your nervous system in order? Did you have your hormones balanced? Most people don't do that. We've got to put all of these pieces together, and we've got to treat the whole person, and we've got to treat the underlying cause. We can't just keep medicating you. And we can't just keep even medicating you with a whole food or a pill to try to knock down a symptom. We've actually still got to find out what's underneath this and what's causing it, and then start to correct it. Otherwise, we're not doing anything different than other doctors do. And we've got to treat you like a whole person. You're not just a thyroid gland, and you're not just a heart or a kidney. You're a whole person. And we have to take that into account. And that's why we sit down knee to knee and figure out exactly what your desires are, what your goals are, what your plans are, and what your history is, and what kind of obstacles do we have to overcome. So we put all of these together, and when we do, we're going to get a system that actually works, that actually helps people to get to their goals. And 94% of all failure is just because people don't have a system. Everybody's known people that went to, Jenny Craig or NutriWeight system, or they just didn't have all of the pieces and they failed. This is why. And you need a coach, you need a mentor, you need somebody who knows how to do these things in order to get you there. If I was just to give you a manual that told you all this stuff, it wouldn't be good enough. I mean, if I gave you a manual on how to fly an airplane, do you think you could go fly it? No. You might know a little bit more than you did before, but you've got to have somebody in the seat next to you showing you how to fly the airplane. You need a coach to do that. All good, anybody who's successful has a system. Any business that is successful has a system. Anybody ever see a business that didn't really have a very good system? What happens to it? It fails. So we put together a system, and we have a system that will help you to make sure that you don't fail. You will be involved. Believe me, you will be involved. Guys, you cannot write me a check and get your health back. It just doesn't work that way. I can be responsible to you, but I cannot be responsible for you. I can coach you and help you figure out what's going on and tell you what you need to do. And when you fall down, I can pick you up, brush you off, kick you in the pants, and get you going again. I can do all of those things, but 95% of this is on you. You have to be able to be coachable. You have to be willing to make some changes, because the people who just keep putting their health on the back burner and really aren't willing to make the changes that are necessary, this is not the program for them. They're just not ready for it. So we only take people who are really ready to make those kind of changes, because I don't want to see them fail, and I don't want to sacrifice my reputation either. I tell you what, I have to admit there's been times I look pretty similar to that, except I would have probably liked to see myself being a dog, but instead of a cat. But we have to wake up and we have to stop procrastinating. We have to do something different. I don't want to see any of you guys on this conveyor belt to the pit of despair. I want to help you get off of that. I want you to change your life. You got to wake up, because I saw that. I woke up myself to that. I don't want to end up there. I don't want to end up with diabetes. I don't want to have heart disease. I don't want to have cancer. I want to be like Jack LaLanne. I want to be out on the golf course playing golf, shooting my age when I'm 80 years old. But in order to do that, I really have to go, okay, look, do I really want that, or do I just want to keep doing the things I've been doing? Because the things I've been doing are making me fat, sick, tired, depressed, and I don't want it. I want to make some changes. So if you want to make some changes, we'll help you do that. Yes, you can. You can predict your health, but in order to do that, you have to order the correct tests. You can't just take a CBC and think that since everything is right on that you're healthy. You've got to have the right amount of tests, and we do. We order all of the tests so that we get a complete picture of you as a whole. We check your hormones, we check your blood, we check your urine, we check your stool to make sure there's no GI problems or parasites, and you're going to learn a little bit more about that in a minute. We've got to determine the true underlying cause. We can't just keep throwing pills at you, whether they're drugs or nutraceuticals or vitamins, and just to get rid of a symptom. We've got to actually figure out what's going on with you and then build your body up and repair it from the foundation so that you can actually regain your health and you're not just chasing symptoms around. And I've been really guilty about that. You know, somebody comes, I've got a runny nose. Oh, well, here, take this pill because it's natural. And it'll help you with your sinuses. And you know what? It does. But did it actually fix what was underlying that? Was there a food allergy maybe that was causing that problem? And I just maybe let that person keep eating that food, wrecking their gut, clogging their liver, making their sinuses clog all up, and kept giving them this pill. I'm no better if I just do that than anybody else. So we've got to stop chasing symptoms and throwing pills at them and actually start to figure out what is the dysfunction in this person and then make it functional, which is what functional medicine is. Focusing on the cause and not just the symptoms. Correct that dysfunction, not just alter your labs. Again, if you have high cholesterol and you take a cholesterol medication, what does it do? It lowers that lab number. Do you automatically think you're healthy now because you took that and it lowered your deal? No, it hasn't done anything except just lowered that number. And by the way, cholesterol, did you know that just as many people die from heart attacks that have low cholesterol as that do high cholesterol? That's pretty alarming, isn't it? And the statin drugs that they give us now are very, very dangerous. Matter of fact, one of the causes of a statin drug can be a heart attack and muscle weakness. The heart is a muscle, right? So it can cause weakness there. It's interesting that in Canada, they don't even allow statins anymore. You know why? Because they don't work and they're dangerous and they have to pay for them. They're not paying for any drugs that don't work and haven't been shown to be effective. Statins are probably the #1 drug in America today. And I've seen a lot of patients that have been damaged through those, causing lots of different problems. So we're not interested in just altering your labs with the drugs. We're actually interested in correcting the underlying cause. We got to address your body as a whole, and you have to have a systematic approach. Those 5 pillars that I talked about, what would happen? What would happen if you left out the detox? What happens if you did everything else but you left out the detox? What would happen? Would you get the results that you wanted? Probably not. If you left that out and you left the gut all clogged up and you left the liver congested and you can't break down the hormones properly, are you going to get the results even though you were eating properly and you were exercising and you're on the treadmill for an hour a day? Would you get the results that you were looking for? You would not. So what if you did the detox, but then you went back to eating donuts and Oreos? Oh, well, I cleaned my body out, shouldn't that do some good? Well, not really, because now you're just putting the same crap back in that you cleaned out in the first place. Right? What if your nervous system is all messed up? What if your hormones are out of balance? Even though you're eating properly and you're exercising, but your hormones are out of balance and you've got all the fat-storing hormones working against you, are you going to be successful if you leave that piece out? Tell me, which piece would you like to leave out? Which one would you like to leave out? You can't. You can't leave any of them out and be successful. And you need mentoring. This is a doctor-led program. We need a coach. Everybody should have a coach to help them get through the rough periods. So these are questions to ask yourself. If I don't do something different, what will I be like in 5 years from now? That's a pretty sobering thing to really look at it. I mean, we can just sit here and talk about it, but if you really look at that, what am I going to be like in 5 years? What am I going to be like in 10 years if I don't make some changes now? I think that's what happened to me. I was just sitting there looking at that, and I just like, no, not good. Not good. Got to make some changes. I've got too much to live for to not. How is my health being affected? How is my health affecting my job, my relationships, and my mental outlook? Am I just going to continue to get more fat, more sick, more depressed, more of a burden on my family? How is it affecting my productivity? Do I even care about my job anymore? Do I have any interests anymore? Those things start to wane as we get sick, don't we? We lose our interest in life. Is it possible to regain my health? Absolutely. And the way we do it is by the systematic approach that we talked about. Okay? It works. Is it possible to get to the Emerald City? Everybody remember Dorothy in Oz? What did she have to do to get to the Emerald City? She had to follow what? The yellow brick road, right? Did she run into some obstacles along the way? What kind of obstacles? Flying monkeys and lions. Yeah, that's right. And lions and tigers and bears, right? But how did she end up getting there? She got by with some help from who? From her friends, right? She got by with some help from her friends. The lion, the scarecrow. So that's what we are to you, is in this program where your friends to help you get to where you want to go, because there's no doubt you're going to run into some obstacles. There's going to be some challenges along the way. And that's where it helps to have somebody in your corner helping you to figure this out. It's not a cookie cutter approach. We've got to do the right tests. We've got to do the research. We've got to figure it out. But doctors really don't have time. When you went to the doctor the last time you went to the doctor, how long did he spend with you? How much? 3 minutes. Okay. 5 minutes. So, yeah, don't even get 5 minutes, all right? So do you really think a doctor is going to be able to sit down with you in 3 minutes or 5 minutes and figure out your history and what's going on with you and how to go about turning your condition around? They barely have time to write a prescription for you and throw it at you, right? We've got to do something different if we're going to get to the health we want, because that's not what health is. That's just crisis care and disease management. We've got to get to the underlying cause of these problems. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how motivated are you to change the course of your future and opt for a better health? Go ahead and ask yourself that question. You don't have to answer it out loud, but some people just aren't really quite ready yet. They're just not motivated enough. And those are the people I really can't help. But the people who give me an 8 or a 9 or a 10 or even a 7 sometimes, I can help those people because they're at least willing. And you showed that you are at least willing and somewhat proactive because you're here tonight. Yeah? You're here tonight. At least you cared enough about your health to come. So good for you.
Hello, my name is Jacinta, and I'd like to share with you my experience overcoming Graves' disease with Dr. Echols. In 2005, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called Graves' disease. This occurs when the immune system, for whatever reason, starts overstimulating the thyroid gland, leading to way too much thyroxine hormone being secreted into the body, and it makes you very sick. Now, the standard treatment, as recommended by my endocrinologist and others, is to eliminate the thyroid gland. But that didn't make sense to me because it wasn't my thyroid gland's fault. It was something happening in my immune system. The way to destroy the thyroid gland is taking a radioactive cocktail, and within a matter of a day or so, the thyroid gland is completely destroyed. I decided I wanted to find a different road back to health, that this was really just eliminating a symptom and not the cause of the problem. Over the next year, I looked into other alternative modalities, but I wasn't getting any better. And at this point, elected to take an anti-thyroxine medication, which, although it kept my the thyroxine hormone levels in check, it wasn't a long-term cure. Well, thankfully, my path led me to Dr. Echols. And with his initial testing and looking into my diet, he made some great recommendations, provided me with supplements, and through his muscle testing, discovered that I had parasites in my large intestine. He prescribed for me a delicious tonic, and I took that over the course of 3 weeks. And within 2 months, I was completely off the anti-thyroxine medication. I no longer had Graves' disease. My immune system was in order. I still had my thyroid gland. And as you can imagine, I am truly grateful. Thank you.
That's one happy lady. I'll never forget her when she came in. She was scared to death because she was imminently fixing to go in and have them radiate and destroy her thyroid. This is a vibrant, young, healthy woman. And they were fixing to just completely irradiate her thyroid and destroy it and then put her on drugs and medication for the rest of her life. And she wouldn't have had any choice but to be on that. That's the system that we're stuck in. And that's what I'm trying to do different with you guys. We found out what was causing. Did they do the test to figure out whether she had parasites or not? Who would have ever thought that Graves' disease could be caused by parasites? I didn't even know that till we found it. But then we found it, we treated it, and look at her now. She's a happy, vibrant young lady, and I was so pleased to actually be a part of her recovery. But this is the system that we've got to just do something different. And I see people falling victim to this over and over. The doctor said, I've got to be on this medication for how long? Forever. Forever. Because why? It doesn't fix what's causing your problem. It's just managing your disease while it goes on to get worse and worse and worse. So if you want to figure out what is actually causing the problem, we've got to do the proper tests. We've got to take the time. It takes time to figure this out and to get you on the right program to get to the underlying cause and correct it. So in my clinic, what we do is we do a complete wellness evaluation. When you come in, I'm not going to be behind my desk. I'm going to be sitting knee to knee with you just like this. And we'll sit down and we'll talk about what's going on with you. What's going on with you? What's going on with you? So that we know your history. We know all the different medications that you're on. We know the challenges you are. We need to know what your goals are. What it is that you want? How can I help you? What is it that I can do to help you? We do that consultation. We do the wellness evaluation. We develop a plan of action, which is very important. We've got to come up with a plan. We have a system already in place, and I've showed those to you with the 5 pillars. But you're an individual. You're different than everybody in here is different. I'm different than you. You're different than her. We're all different. So we all need a plan that's tailor-made to our mental, emotional, and physical makeups. So we do that. You have an opportunity tonight to change. We talked about the fact that, everything you've done before has led you to where you are now. So Einstein said the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same things and expect different results. We hope and we pray that something will change. But unless we take action to make those changes, nothing really ever does change, does it? And we've got to get off that conveyor belt. By the way, this is not about chiropractic here, although a lot of you are my chiropractic patients. This is about a completely different program that we're involved with, that we can actually make some changes at a fundamental level, change those hormones, educate you, give you a real education that you can have for the rest of your life so that you won't need me. That's going to be the nice point where I can actually kick you out the door and you can fly on your own and you don't need me anymore because you know how to be healthy at that point. So I would like to also hang around for a few minutes in case any of you guys have any personal questions that you'd like to talk to me about personally. But I want to thank you all for coming. It's been my honor to meet you tonight and to talk with you. And I hope even if you decide not to participate in this program, I wish you all the very best and good sailing and good health. Thank you.